Sanders called war in Gaza a genocide for the first time.
Bernie Sanders finally issued a statement acknowledging the indisputable fact that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza after 2 years of adamantly refusing to do so.
Senator Bernie Sanders on Wednesday said that Israel's actions in Gaza constitute a genocide, the first time the long-term senator and two-time presidential candidate has used the term to describe the conflict.
And the statement begins as follows. Hamas, a terrorist organization, began this war with its brutal attack on October 7, 2023, which killed 1,200 innocent people and took 250 hostages. Israel, as any other country, had a right to defend itself from Hamas. But
this is so classically Bernie Sanders, where it takes him so long to get to the right answer, and then when he gets to the right answer, it always comes with a caveat. It's always attached to something else. So, and this is my broader critique of the left and why I sort of left the left spaces, is that their rhetoric of what needs to be done is never backed by a strategy that is also radical. So took him 2 years to get to this point, and with getting to this point, he has to shake hands with the U.S. empire and say that Hamas is the reason for the genocide. Absolutely ridiculous. So we need to take a trip down memory lane about who Bernie Sanders is when it comes to the genocide in Palestine or Gaza, and Caitlin Johnstone is the perfect person to narrate this.
Dude goes 2 years refusing to call a genocide, then issues a statement which begins by placing blame for the genocide on the victims of said genocide. He also lumps the hundreds of IDF troops slain in the attack in with innocent people, ignores the large percentage of the death toll that would have been killed by Israeli troops under the Hannibal Directive, and babbles about Israel's right to defend itself against an occupied population. The rest of the statement is standard liberal Zionist fare, acknowledging the horror of the situation in Gaza while blaming it all on Benjamin Netanyahu and not the murderous apartheid state, which would be doing what it's doing with or without Netanyahu.
As the pseudo-left pats Bernie Sanders on the back, and before they crown him the face of the anti-genocide protest, let's remember this headline: Bernie Sanders, the left face of genocide.
Hi, I'm Medea with Cook Pink outside the office of Bernie Sanders. So we're in the Senate in Washington, D.C., and you can just walk into any other senator's office. But look, the door is locked in Bernie Sanders' office, and you can't go in unless you have an appointment, which is really strange. And you know what? This only happened after there were protests in his office calling for him to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. So what happened to Bernie Sanders?
We're holding up a sign, a quote from Bernie Sanders calling for negotiation. Bernie Sanders had me arrested for holding up his own quote.
On Sunday, November 5th, Sanders appeared on CNN to oppose mounting calls for a ceasefire in the Israeli slaughter. Parroting the lines of Netanyahu's government as well as Biden administration, Sanders cast Israel's campaign of ethnic cleansing as a necessary act of self-defense following the armed breakout and incursion into southern Israel carried out by Hamas on October 7th. Quote, I don't know how you can have a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, with an organization like Hamas, which is dedicated to turmoil and chaos and destroying the state of Israel, he told State of the Union moderator Dana Bash. Quote, I think what the Arab countries in the region understand is that Hamas has to go. This defense of Israeli onslaught was welcomed by the war criminals and their accomplices. White House Deputy Communication Director Herbie Z tweeted out quotes from Sanders' interview. Within an hour of Sanders' appearance, the AIPAC posted a clip of his remarks on Twitter. In a subsequent tweet, the Zionist lobby said, quote, thank you, Sanders, for your clear and principled opposition to calls for a ceasefire with Hamas.
This is the face of what passes for the left in modern U.S. politics. Absolutely ghoulish. Bernie Sanders is a ghoulish Zionist. Notes from the Edge of the Narrative Matrix.